The March 19 update is up, I have played through it, and I feel that now I'm comfortable enough to give you the update and the whole content that came through it. So thank you for watching. If you have got any questions about the update that I mentioned, drop a comment, and of course, like this video and subscribe to my channel to see more updates in future. And from what I hear, the April 2nd update is going to be huge, so you will not want to miss that. Now, before we get into the features themselves, I want to give you a little bit of context because I think that this actually will make a difference on the update itself. When the early access launched on February 26, the team spent the first couple of weeks just cleaning things up. March 5th and March 12th updates were basically just housekeeping. And this one right here on March 19th was always meant to be the first real content drop after the launch. And the way Clockwork Labs have it structured, think of it as this is the first of two back-to-back major updates. The second one lands on April 2nd and builds directly on what we are covering today. So what you are getting right now is the foundation, and once you understand that, the features make a lot more sense. Alright, let's get into it. And the first big feature in this update is equipment presets. And if you have ever found yourself digging through your vault, manually swapping out full set of gear before heading into a Slayer dungeon and then going back and swapping it all again when you want to go mining or crafting, you already understand exactly why this matters. So here's how it works. You now have the ability to unlock multiple equipment tabs. Each tab stores a full set of gear. That's your 6 clothing pieces plus your jewelry slot. When you switch tabs, your entire outfit swaps instantly. No more opening the vault. No more manual slot by slot swapping. Keep in mind that your weapon and your heart slot are not included in the presets. They stay the same regardless of which tab you're on. The reasoning behind this is that most players run a single weapon, and having it locked inside a preset you are not currently using would actually be more annoying than helpful. One more important thing to know, the items in each tab are actually stored inside the tab itself. They don't dump back into your vault when you switch. So each preset is essentially its own dedicated equipment storage, which is a really clean solution when you think about it. Now, out of the box, you start with one tab, same as before. The second tab is unlockable through a quest called Dressed for Success, which opens up at level 15 in any profession and costs only 500 hex coins. Pretty reasonable if you ask me. And if you are wondering about the third tab, that's coming in on April 2nd and unlocking around level 25 in any skill. Keybinds for switching between presets are also already built and ready, they just missed the cutoff for this update, so expect those on April 2nd as well. Okay, this one I want to spend a little extra time on, because based on what I saw in the community after this update dropped, profession crits might be the most misunderstood feature in this patch, so let me break it down properly. First, a bit of history. Crits actually existed in BitCraft before and they were removed. The reason? They weren't doing anything interesting. They were basically just a roundabout way of saying more average power. And when you're choosing between crit chance and a flat power increase, you are just doing the math. There is no real decision there. So the team took them out, rethought the whole concept, and brought them back in a fundamentally different way. Here is what makes this version actually interesting. When you land a crit, you get substantially more power on that action, which means more yield, more progress, more items. But, and this is the key part, the bonus power from that crit gives you 0 extra XP. You only earn XP on your base power, as if crit never happened. So what that creates is a genuine choice. If you are building around crits, you are trading XP gains for higher yields. If you are building around raw power or speed, you get steadier XP progression with slightly less output. And depending on what you are trying to do in game at any given moment, one of those is going to appeal to you more than the other. And this is where it gets really interesting for prospecting specifically, because in a prospecting hunt, you have a fixed number of hits on the final resource. You are not grinding the same node forever, you get what you get. So in that context, a few well-timed crits can dramatically increase your haul in a way that small flat power boosts simply cannot match. Now, to actually see your crit stats in game, hit the H menu, go to the first tab and scroll down to view detailed stats at the bottom, and look for the profession section. You will find the crit chance and crit multiplier listed there for each profession. As for where you actually get the gear for crits, right now the current source is tier 3 Argent rings, one for each profession. Argent comes from mining prospecting, so that's your starting point. The team has confirmed that more sources are coming across the game in the future updates, so this is just the beginning of what the system is going to become. Alright, prospecting. This section I'm going to split in two parts, what's coming and what's actually here right now, because I think it's important to set the right expectations before we get into it. So first, the thing that a lot of people were waiting for, animal and mob prospecting, the slayer and hunting side of things. It's done. The systems are fully built, it just missed the content cutoff for this update, which means that it is landing on April 2nd. So hang tight, it's basically right around the corner. Now, what did actually ship in this update is a set of quality of life improvements to the prospecting system that honestly make the whole experience feel a lot better. Let me walk you through them. The first thing you'll notice is a new prospecting UI window. It shows you the current state of your hunt, including other players who are on the same hunt as you. Now, I'll be upfront, and Minch himself acknowledged that on the stream that this UI is rough around the edges right now and it wasn't implemented quite to the spec in this first pass. And there wasn't enough time to get it fully polished before the update went out. An improved version is already in progress and is coming April 2nd. So treat what you see right now as a functional but temporary version. The bigger addition here is something called the active compass mode. To understand why this matters, let me explain you quickly how the normal compass works first. Every time you use your prospecting ability, it spawns a compass on the ground and points you in the right direction for the next node. It lasts for a few seconds and then disappears. That's your standard experience. The active compass is different. It follows you, locks on the target, and guides you more directly. And there are two specific situations where it kicks in. The first is at the end of the hunt. Once you have found all your clues and the final resource has been revealed, you used to have this frustrating experience where you'd complete all 5 steps or all 20 steps, how many steps, walk to that location and the resource wasn't quite there. It felt like hidden extra step. With the active compass, the moment that final resource is revealed, it locks on and guides you straight to it. No more guessing. The second situation is group prospecting. Once any player in your hunt finds a node, every other player who hasn't found it yet gets an active compass to help them catch up. So the leader still uses the normal compass and does the work, but everyone else gets that extra guidance to stay in sync. It makes group prospecting meaningfully more rewarding without making it too easy. Also new on the compass, a distance indicator showing how many hex tiles away the next node is. Interestingly, Minch mentioned on stream that they are already debating whether this is too much precise information and they might dial it back to something like hot or cold system in the future, so keep an eye on that one. Now, a couple of things worth clarifying about how prospecting actually works, because I know there's been some confusion in the community. First, more players on the same hunt does not reduce your yield. Your haul at the end is based entirely on how many nodes you personally contributed to. 100 people on the same hunt or just you, it doesn't matter. You get what you have earned. And second, coming in the next update, every node you find during prospect will grant extra XP. So you will actually feel like you're making progress throughout the whole hunt, not just at the end. One last thing on prospecting, and this one came directly from Minch on stream. Getting 0 ore from a completed hunt is not acceptable, and he committed to bringing a minimum guaranteed drop to the team. So that fix is on its way as well. Alright, next up we have got a handful of additions that are going to matter a lot if you're running a settlement or playing within an empire. Let me walk through all of them. The first one is a brand new Empire buff building called the Statue of Life. And before you tune out thinking that this one is only relevant for emperors, it is not. Any settlement can build this, regardless whether you are involved in an empire system at all. What it does, it provides you a 50 maximum health and 0.1 active health regeneration buff in exchange for hexite energy. If you are someone who spends a lot of time in a Slayer dungeon, I highly recommend getting one of these into your settlement as soon as you can. It's built from a rare drop, so keep your eyes open for that one. Now, speaking of hexite energy, this update brings a pretty significant change to how emperors can manage it. You can now withdraw hexite energy directly from Empire Treasury through the Empire status screen. What this means, in practice, is that emperors and whoever they grant permission to can pull energy from the treasury and spend it on buff statues, which technically puts it right back into the Empire. Minch acknowledged on the stream that yes, this does mean that emperors essentially can keep buff buildings running indefinitely. That's intentionally by design, and the balance will be managed through the cost of the buildings themselves. But here's the part I really want you to pay attention to if you're an emperor. This also means that if you grant someone permission to withdraw hexite energy, you are giving them access to your entire treasury. So be very cautious about who you extend that to. This is one of those changes that is easy to overlook, but actually pretty profound in terms of how you manage your empire. And on that note, 2 new Empire permissions have been added alongside this change. The first one lets you control exactly which rank can harvest from Empire resources. Right now, that means a hexite deposit specifically. Previously, all named officer ranks could gather from these, but now you get granular control over who has access. The second permission controls who can withdraw hexite energy from the treasury, and again, handle that one carefully. The last thing in this section is rare drop from large hexite deposits. The big Empire scale ones, not prospecting fragments. This drop gives you a permanent +1 stat increase to your character. It's tradable, which is great, but it's one-time use per player. You cannot stock the same item on the same character twice, and that rule is locked permanently. It also gives a 10% yield increase specifically for hexite prospecting, which is worth noting given that prospecting gives you a fixed number of hits. Every little bit of yield there counts. Alright, this next section is a short one, but honestly one of the more fun parts of this update because there are things you can actually go out and hunt for right now. First up, the Bask emote is back. If you played BitCraft before, even in Early Access 1, you might remember this one. It was previously a default unlock and got pulled from the game. The team wanted to reintroduce it in a more interesting way, so it's now tied to a quest. Minch described it as not too hard, but a fun little adventure, so if you are an emote collector, go find it. Next, and this one I think is going to get a lot of attention, Wagon 2 is now unlockable through a new quest. If you have been hauling materials around in your basic wagon and quietly suffering, your time has come. Minch was genuinely excited about this one on stream, mentioned that a lot of care went into the quest itself and encouraged everyone to give it a shot. And finally, the one that I think is the most interesting thing to come out of the entire developer stream, Minch let it slip and even called it first leak himself. That building in Sapwoods is coming. He didn't go into details about how, just that there are in-game events planned around it and it will be revealed in the near future. So if you have been eyeing the Sapwoods as the place to settle, it sounds like that dream might actually be on the horizon. Alright, that covers all the major stuff in this update. Now let's quickly blitz through some smaller changes and quality of life improvements that also landed in this patch. Font size can now be scaled independently from the rest of the UI, and if you have been squinting at the tiny text without wanting to blow up your entire interface, that setting is now in. Items will no longer be automatically turned in for quests. The game now asks you to confirm before submitting anything, so no more accidentally handing over a stack of materials you actually needed. On a small note, if you complete a craft and the item lands in your cart through the auto deposit, You can now turn in the quest directly from the cart without having to move anything to your inventory first. Premium emotes are now tradable, which was always the intention but is finally live. The chat window draggable area is now uncapped, so you can make it as large as you want, and the chat size along with several other UI states will now persist between dimension changes and between sessions. A quest panel capacity setting has been added if you want to adjust the background behind your quest tracker. World labels now appear when you hover over objects in the world. It is on by default and can be turned off in settings if you prefer a cleaner screen. On the bug fix side, Starstone lighting in interiors got further fixes, quest rewards not resolving when entering your inventory is fixed, UI progression showing grabbled characters is fixed, locked emotes no longer visible in the abilities window, the clockwork lamp now correctly has radius of 10. The deployable inventory now works properly when you walk out of the range and walk back in, the Jackal Den extraction now scales with construction power. The several issues with quest state when transferring regions and Empire Siege state have been resolved as well. And this is everything that landed in the BitCraft March 19th update. Equipment presets, profession crits, prospecting improvements, new Empire content, new quests, and a whole lot of smaller changes that add up to the game that feels meaningfully different from where it was a week ago. And honestly, with April 2nd right around the corner, bringing animal prospecting, sprint changes, a third equipment preset, profession dungeons, and watchtower ownership transfers, the momentum right now is real. If you found this useful, the single best thing you can do, and I'm going to echo something Minch actually said himself on the stream, is go leave a review on Steam. It sounds small, but it genuinely helps new players find the game, sets the right expectations, and keeps the development moving forward. So if you have been enjoying BitCraft, take 2 minutes and do that. If you have any questions about anything covered today, drop them into the comments below. I read every single comment and I will do my best to get back to you. And if there is something I got wrong or something you think deserves more attention, let me know there too. This is all I've got for you today. Thank you for watching and have fun with the new update. Have a good one and I will see you in game. Bye.